I'd like to welcome Minister Norma Foley to the Seanad today, and as well as that Minister for visiting Ballinasloe, I suppose St Teresa's Special School, which is one of two special schools in our constituency, to confirm a new site. Minister, the additional accommodation, hopefully, will be there in January. You know, it had been expected in September of this year to support the children in that school who are now in other locations trying to manage in their classrooms. But I would like to see that would be accelerated. Minister, today we're here to speak in the House on statements on COVID-19 and the new measures in the Department of Education. And I'd like to acknowledge your work and your commitment, and that of your team in the department and your teams in keeping schools open. Also, we have the incredible principals and teaching staff that are doing their best to keep children safe. However, teachers, principals and parents are at their wits' end. Minister, there is a crisis. As you note yourself, age 9 to age 11, and as Minister Stephen Donnelly yesterday noted with us here in the Seanad, is one of the highest levels in terms of cases at the moment. And this has meant new guidelines coming from NPHET, of course, which relates to mask wearing. Minister, there is a crisis in primary schools at the moment. And although you have mentioned here about when there is a case in a school, that it's up to the parents, to contact the school, the parent to contact the school, and then the principal to take it on to contact the children in that pod. We need more. There has to be more here in terms of contact tracing, more support from the HSE. I don't know if this is sufficient. Not now, not in the levels that we're seeing, particularly between those ages, and how we're going to manage into the months of the end of December and into January. I know there's stabilisation in other age cohorts, but not in this age cohort. So I do believe there needs to be extra supports in this area. Minister, I welcome that the department is looking at supplying, or the HSE, again, perhaps just to clarify if it's the Department of Health or the Department of Education, but I do believe batches of antigen tests should be sent to schools, and that the schools themselves should be able to give this to the parents as well of concern. Currently, from what I understand, it's just to parents solely. I do believe that schools should have access to this, and in particular DEIS schools where we have children at disadvantage, families of disadvantage, where we should have those antigen tests immediately, where they can supply them directly. Minister, you've also mentioned masks, and that schools, I welcome this, that schools can decide on certification for the children based on medical or additional needs. Also on ventilation, again, welcome that you mentioned the Emergency Works Grant Assistance Scheme, but can I ask for the timeline if schools apply for that, and how many schools have applied for that? Minister, I've spoken to a number of principals and teachers, and the feedback, just in terms of the communication that was issued to teachers and to schools, well, I think they were taken aback by the type of language that was used to express and communicate the changes from the department. I would believe that the language in communication has to reflect that this is a team effort between the Department of Education, between our principals and our school teachers, and that the type of language in communication is crucial. So I do believe that needs to be looked at, Minister. I do believe that there probably could have been more done to alert teachers who were probably panicking when they heard this on the news for the first time. I suppose just if there was information there about the immediate timelines for when teachers and principals are notified once a communication is issued publicly. In terms of supply panels, Minister, one of the supply panels in my own area, there are 3 teachers covering 27 schools, and I know there was an INTO survey between the 1st and the 16th of November on substitute absences. In a particular school, there were 73 absences in a 2-week period, and they could only fill 39. And again, Minister, I welcome that you've brought forward measures to allow students in 3rd and 4th year to come forward. Again, it shows that we just don't have some of the staff on the ground to support this because of children themselves having to stay at home and parents having to do the same. But our children with special educational needs are suffering here. And then for students coming forward, I suppose my question here is that students, if they're living in Limerick or Dublin, well then are they supporting the schools there in terms of that area? How do we get students in those areas to travel further afield, be it 100 kilometres, if there's a school that's in need of their support? In the Leaving Cert, in the Education Committee, we're looking at the reform of the Leaving Cert, Minister, and a lot of stakeholders and witnesses coming before us. I think it's very important, and as you've mentioned here, you will be having discussions, but that the voices of students are heard in terms of what we're planning for this year. Minister, I had a recent commencement matter, and again this is an issue close to my heart, but the DEIS school identification model. And in that commencement matter, I spoke about the fact that we had 18 million in the programme for government to look at the timelines here for that DEIS school identification model, so that we can see what schools have been added, and in terms of the hot school meals programme that was announced recently by Minister Heather Humphreys. Garmalgath, and thank you for your time, Minister.